Welcome everybody to another episode of Quick Gains. I'm Jason Taves. I am the co-founder and CTO here at Quicc, and I'm filling in for Dan Holloway as we enter this holiday season. I'm super excited to have a really fun guest on today's show. His name is Blake Benton, and he has a really amazing story. It's a family story, and it's a story full of craziness, full of deep and difficult decisions, but also a story full of hope. And today we want to talk about that and how Blake has leveraged video and connected a global community around an amazing cause. He's the, I guess, CEO and founder of Coming Together for a Cure. And we're going to talk to him a little bit more today. But before I introduce him, I want to share with you guys some of the things that I love about the snowy Christmas holidays coming up here, at least from a Kansas perspective. I really enjoy being able to spend time outside with the family, even if it is a little bit cold. And some people call me crazy. And yes, it is true that I often try and escape to the other side of the world where there are warm beaches during the snowy season. But the seasonality is a lot of fun. And being able to run outside in the cold and have snowball fights and build snow forts has always been a fond memory of mine here in Kansas. So here's hoping to a little bit of snow this year where we can take our entire family out and have a fun snowball fight. But without further ado, let's get Blake in. Blake, welcome to the Quick Gains stream.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
So, Blake, I probably didn't give you quite the introduction that you deserve, but you're a local Wichita, and I just want to hear more about your story and kind of the background. So, give us the A to Z of where you started and how Coming Together for a Cure has gotten to where it is today.
So essentially, my older brother has Duchenne muscular dystrophy, and it all starts there. So that's a progressive neuromuscular muscle wasting disease that affects 1 in 3,500 people or boys, about 35,000 boys in the U.S. And um, it's a disease that becomes terminal around late teens to early 20s. And when Ryan was 22, family friend was he's a stem cell scientist, was involved in some research and said, I think I have something that may work for you. So we gave it a chance because at that at that point things were pretty critical in his outlook in life, and we were willing to try anything that we thought could be safe and could potentially help. And sure enough, uh, that treatment ended up allowing the ability to stop the progression of his disease. And since then, he's had almost 20 treatments over the last 12 years and is now doing extremely well. So my family and with Ryan, my brother, spearheading the idea, said, let's raise awareness. Let's start a fundraiser. Let's do more so we can let other people know about this. And shortly after, um, those fundraisers grew every year. And as I got older and became more immersed in the ability to be a part of something larger than yourself, this I just kind of realized this is what I wanted to do to help as many people as possible. And so for the last 5 years or so, I've been doing this in a pretty full-time capacity where we started we now have a nonprofit that connects families from around the world to resources um, that make it easier for them to understand and then gain access to adult stem cell therapies.
Man,
So
it's incredible to hear you share about that every time that we talk. We've known each other for a few years now. Um, but one of the things I think is worth hearing a little bit more about that is this is a really tough message to like probably consume as parents or as the individual who suffers from the muscular dystrophy. How do you bring transparency around something that is starts from a place of despair and deep like I mean, it's just a deep thing to deal with. How do you bring transparency around like that's the reality, but then also take that all the way through to the hope and the resources that you've created over the years?
Doing this for a while, the one common theme is that everybody can relate to the same challenges, the same kind of um, just shock and awe of getting that diagnosis, and then looking for an alternative or looking for some sort of treatment that could possibly be out there, and not getting their hopes up too much, or just there's a lot of things that this community can relate on, that if you don't have somebody in your family with a disease like this, it's hard to. So we just learned very quickly that, we've walked in the shoes that many people want to be in. And so how can I portray that in a way that makes it easy for them to immediately be able to just know that they can trust our message. And so, like, as technology's evolved, it's just perfect timing, because it was difficult to get on a phone call with someone on the other side of the world and just try to get the point across, or exchanging emails and here and there. But when you can have a Zoom call, or we set up videos all the time, that makes it so much easier for them to see what's really happening. And you can gauge their facial expressions and see if they're kind of questioning something, or if you need to be more in depth. Or so we
Yeah.
are just very excited to be able to. We use Quicc. We've been using it for the last year or so, and I think that it's certainly helped people be able to engage more in what we're trying to say.
Yeah, and I suppose I guess I hadn't really thought about this particular use case, but do you see that people from um, other countries or maybe even other languages by default, do you think the captioning when you're using it on videos, um, that's delivering information or delivering resources to them, do you feel like that helps them connect a little bit deeper to the information that in the sense that they can read it, and maybe their reading skills are better than their listening skills with a different language?
That's a good question, and I think it's definitely worth exploring more. But I would say that there's a far better likelihood that it is helping. And just noting the fact that we talk with people internationally on a almost every day, and it's sometimes you're communicating with individuals that are pretty well spoken, and you can tell that there's not that much of a gap in the language. But it, you never want to you never want your message to not come across correctly. And so the more tools you can have to make sure that it's reaching them the right way is so important. And so, yeah, I use Google Translate as a almost every day. And so I think about what's the easiest way to describe what's happening, and how that can be understood in a multitude of languages, from just the easiest way to break it down. And so
Yeah.
then when you think about the captions involved, you want to use sometimes the most simple words to get your point across. It's interesting.
Yeah, no, that's really wild. I hadn't thought so much about the refinement of a message to be simple and easy to understand because I mean you're dealing with like life impacting conversations and you want to hand that over in the right way for sure.
Well, a lot of times the topics can be very sensitive on what you're discussing. I mean, when you're talking with someone about their child, who they're desperate to find a some sort of treatment that is safe and effective, that they can believe in, you want to make sure that you don't that no words are miscommunicated, and that you're not delivering too much false hope, any false hope, but that you're also not um, you just always want to make sure you're understood. And it's we just have to be very careful, because we know um, kind of the position that these families are in, and we want to make sure that we're treating them as we'd want to be treated and talked to as we'd want to be talked to.
Yeah. Well, I know that you and I have had a lot of conversations, even with our daughter in the process that we've gone through her with stem cells and the science that is behind that, and more of the discovery and more of the new ways to use stem cells. Can you talk to us a little bit about, what does that look like for somebody who doesn't know anything about muscular dystrophy or anything about kind of where this is in terms of, is this well understood? Is this kind of groundbreaking stuff? Like, talk to me a little bit about what that looks like and where we are today in 2020.
So it's it, definitely in the last few years, it's become easier for me to talk about this with just the general public because I think that there was a stigma that was associated with stem cell research for a while and a negative stigma. But in the last few years, that's certainly been, I'd almost say, just calmed down significantly. Like we used to always have to emphasize, then we'd say this is adult stem cell therapy that we're talking to, where um, the the cells that are involved come from donated umbilical cord, and we extract the mesenchymal stem cells from there. And just to make sure that there wasn't any confusion that it was coming from um, an aborted fetus. Like we have nothing to do with that, never have. And so, but in the last few years, we don't even really have to distinguish that. People just assume that if we're talking about stem cells, we're talking about the safe and effective form that are the adult stem cells, and that's a great thing because their learning curve is already at a level that makes it easy to have more in-depth conversations. Um, but for the most part, we are just excited the fact that um, we're closer than ever to starting clinical trials. The FDA and different regulatory agencies are starting to embrace this more than they ever have. Um, there's still a lot of work to go, but we are very excited about what's coming in the near future, and just believe that we're really on the brink of something that's going to um, help transform medicine and help tons of families and patients in need in the process.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And to that point, I guess it is, again, a very delicate and sensitive subject that you're talking about, especially with the negative stigma in the past. One of the things I know that would be really interesting to people who view this and kind of watch this conversation is when you're dealing with a sensitive topic, or if you are a nonprofit and you don't have large coffers of cash or typical clients that are paying you to do work, how do you effectively communicate with a small team through video content? And I know that you use several tools in that process, but what do you find is the most well-received type of content from everybody who's trying to discover, can I trust this organization? Do they have the information that is relevant to me? Talk me through that.
Well, it's just we're everybody's different, but I try to just in the last few months instead of um, after you first somebody reaches out and they want to learn more and whatnot. Um, I need to. Sun's coming through. Um, after somebody first reaches out and we kind of establish that they want to get more engaged and learn more. Um, I used to always just say, "Well, do you want to set up a phone call or whatnot?" Now, in the last few months, I offer to set up a Zoom call, and those Zoom calls one-on-one have morphed to Zoom calls where I'm introducing them on the same call to other families, other parents just like them, and it's kind of I can tell they're almost taken back in the fact of, wow, this is exactly what I needed, and I didn't realize it.
Yeah.
Like it's very cool because you just say this is what everybody's doing, and from a corporate standpoint, and then from a like a lot of it, when you just realize why not take advantage of the technology out there, and sometimes people are a little hesitant because they may have never done it. If you're talking to somebody on the other side of the world, or they're just somebody from a small town that isn't involved in a more corporate setting. But um, after people first engage in that element, you can tell that they're like, this is just what I needed, and I had no idea that this could be this easy. Um, because it's so you know when you can connect a family from San Diego to someone in Toronto, oh, just that quick, and they have these things in common. All of a sudden, they're talking to each other face to face. It makes it much easier to gain trust in what they're talking about. It otherwise would take a long time to build that rapport and that trust. And so um, we're just, I feel like we're really just starting to use technology as well as it should be able to. And so we're excited for to continue kind of building the community in that way.
So you think that building that community based off of the shared experience that they've all had at different degrees, maybe in different timelines with themselves or their kids in particular, you think that that over video is far more effective than maybe some of the other ways that they've tried to engage in the past?
Well, I mean, aside from just becoming Facebook friends with somebody and staying engaged on their posts and commenting on things, that's helpful. But the one-on-one real conversations in a video format are so important, and especially right now because a lot of these families they used to rely on going to conferences, in-person conferences, and there'd be a couple large ones annually throughout the country that large organizations would host, and there'd be 400 or 500 people that would show up, and that'd be their one chance to meet with these other parents that they can relate to and have developed these friendships with over kind of the course of their child's journey through the disease. And especially 2020, I mean, no conferences can be had, and with a a disease like muscular dystrophy, it's likely that in-person conferences may not resume for a year or two. And so it's even more vital to keep using um, video platforms to ensure that people can continue to have those relationships be developed, and that you shouldn't have to sacrifice building a relationship with others that you can learn from and that you trust and believe in just because you can't get together. And what I've seen is that if anything from this pandemic, it kind of allows people to put their guard down even more to say, yeah, I mean, I guess my laptop has a webcam. Why not try to get in a video call with 5 parents across the U.S.? It's the first. A lot of times sometimes it's the first time people dip their toe in the water, and then they realize this was easy. Why not do this more often? There's a lot that I can gain from this
Yeah. Do you
versus
think
having to spend all this money to go to a conference every year too. Just
yeah,
one thing.
yeah, no, that's really true. I guess I hadn't thought a ton about that, but I mean, have you seen a real difference in people who would be like, "There's no way you're gonna get me on video"? Because I mean, it is a big jump at first for a lot of
Hmm.
people to just turn on the camera, press record, and then or go live or send something. Do you feel like that has been broken down significantly, or is it just, here and there?
I'd say it's kind of a mix, but you can tell when somebody's it's maybe one of their first times doing something like this, and again, we have to be mindful of the fact that what we're talking about is a very sensitive subject, and so sometimes people don't want a spotlight on them.
Right.
If they're nobody likes to raise their hand in a crowd of a bunch of people to say something that they're very vulnerable about. And so this is that way. Sometimes it does have that, you know, it can have that feeling that, well, yeah, why don't you join this video call and ask all your questions to these other people that you can relate to that have been through your similar circumstances. And people may be a little hesitant, but you know, at least once you get in and you kind of learn how it works, and to see that, it's transparent, but at the same time, you don't have to, you know, air all your dirty laundry.
Yeah.
There's you can be as engaged as you want to be, and
Yeah.
but I think it makes such a big difference when you can um, get that little glimpse of this is somebody they're going through life just like me, by seeing in the background that they don't have the most picture perfect home behind them, or maybe there's a crying baby in the other room or something. Like, it makes it much easier to all of a sudden just kind of put your guard down and say, we're all the same, we're all going through the same things, we have the same problems. And because it's so unique and the problems we're going through, why not make it easier to say, here's how I can help, here's something that we've done, here's something that we would suggest you should try. And when you can talk in the way that you can kind of gauge their facial expressions versus just exchanging emails or making a post on a Facebook forum saying, I have this problem, can someone offer support? It's way different when you can see, okay, this is somebody that I can tell they really care about trying to help me. And it seems like they really know what they're talking about because this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we've seen that in so many different online communities over the last year is the development of deeper personal connections really around the world because you have this opportunity to be face to face instead of relying on Facebook posts or email threads, and I think that that's extremely valuable. So from where you started, and maybe this hasn't changed a lot for you in 2020 because I know there's been a lot of curveballs this year. What did your community look like before you started really engaging with video? I know that you had mentioned mostly phone calls and some emails, but where is your community now? Like, do you engage people with like a monthly or a weekly like video room that people can come in and they can connect with one another? Is that something that you want to incorporate into the future? Talk to me a little bit about that.
we haven't done a weekly or a monthly video room like you're speaking of yet. Um, right now, I'm really trying to um, just ensure that the community is that they're on board with moving. I don't want to ask too much too early, and also um, just some of my own lapse in knowledge of trying to make sure that we're setting this up properly. Um, and so we haven't put that out there. I know there are some organizations that are exercising those opportunities, but for us, it hasn't happened yet. And I know we're going to in the future because I definitely see the value there.
Yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit about what does it look like to do this from being a nonprofit? Because I know that that might be familiar for a few people in our audience, but maybe just completely unknown to a lot of the small business and video content creators out there. What are some of the struggles that you face as a nonprofit? What are some of the advantages that you see in connecting with people as a nonprofit?
Well, so for starters, I mean, we have to be very lean, and you want it to be clear how you know it, how conservative you're being sometimes. And so to take advantage of these easy ways to communicate, um, and to let others know that you're doing these transparent kind of activities to get people engaged, that's really important. And I also look at it from like there's the community that of people that are seeking the stem cells, that have a loved one that is looking for a better quality of life, and that they care about really our message and what we have to share in that regard. Then there's also people that are supporters and donors, and the individuals that just want to help more people, but they really don't have any, much um, information or assistance they provide from the information or medical standpoint. But so we want to make sure that they're aware, that the donors and the supporters are aware of what we're doing, and to see the ability to kind of cross over between the two on the same medium of a Facebook or Instagram, where a donor can see how we're interacting with our, the parents and the families in need on Facebook or on Instagram, that makes them more excited to continue to support. And then for them to say, wow, I didn't realize that there was that many people that are constantly coming to you or that have that same problem. Maybe that'll make them more inclined to be a little more generous with their gift the next year. And so that's been a cool way to, we really, it's just transparency. And especially when it comes off as it should, with where, it's kind of unintended. It's just like, well, this is what we're doing. I'm glad that you could see it, and I didn't put it up there for you to hopefully see that how we're helping these people, but we just, um, everything I do is just it's just what makes sense at the time and what I would think I would want others to be helping me in that same regard. And so,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know there's always been that level of authenticity and transparency that you speak of when you're sharing the story of your brother or even others in this community, and that's what's always kept my eye. And I think it's interesting as you talk about Facebook and Instagram. What are the trends, I guess, or what's the approach that you see being a small, lean organization, not overburdening yourself and not trying to be too markety or salesy or serving these two different audiences in ways that don't feel authentic or transparent. What are the platforms that you guys use now? Are there any that you would like to be using? What works and what doesn't?
yeah, Facebook's the main thing we use. Recently started doing a little bit more on LinkedIn and Instagram. Um, we're rebuilding our YouTube page. Um, we have some stuff on there now, but we have a lot of video that I've just captured over the years, and now I'm realizing, and like, I was capturing tons of video to try to create a documentary, and now it's like, that's a good thought and theory, but what we're, it makes sense just to get it out as soon as possible because people would much rather hear something relevant than right then wait a while for it to look very well produced. Um, and so that's something that we're continually trying to be, um, just more intentional to make sure that we're not waiting too long to get the right message out, by making it look too professional or polished. Um, because it's easy to get lost in the details of, oh, we haven't ran it through Quicc yet.
Yeah, yeah.
but um, but at the same time, like, there is that fine line of, having it be just good enough to get the point across, but without trying to, make sure that it has the perfect edits and cuts between different things.
Yeah,
So
so a very like organic, straightforward approach to like we're just sharing the story and this is the reality and it's not overproduced or special effects by the art team here and the video production team there. It's just done.
yeah, and I'm guilty of that. And Ryan, my brother, he helps with a lot, and he does a lot of video editing and graphic design stuff, and so we do get a little caught up sometimes in trying to, put the logo in an animated motion before the clip starts here, and it's like, just get the message out there. It's kind of
Yeah.
what we're learning is to, because that's what people care about, and that's what's important.
And I suppose there's a lot of creativity for Ryan there as he's being engaged with his own story and just the process of everything being delivered. Like there's value in having the, creative components every once in a while as well, I think.
Yeah, and because a lot of times, we want to make sure the message comes across properly. So that's really what it comes down to, is we don't want anything to be misunderstood or misinterpreted. And so that's, it's not just to make the video look fancy, but it's to make sure that it's accurate and that the information is, um, that it that it's what people need to hear.
Right.
So
So we actually have a question from our Facebook stream, which is can you talk about how your brother has responded to the outpouring of support from so many people that he's never met?
Um, at first, it was overwhelming, and he'd try to stay in touch or try to answer all these questions and be able to engage as much as he could. But um, it's it's a little uncomfortable, to be honest, just because he has this incredible, this fortunate, um, the fact that he was the one that was able to receive these treatments, you know, when there's thousands of other boys that haven't been able to have them yet. It kind of puts him in a little bit of an awkward position because he knows how fortunate and how blessed he is, and he but at the same time, like, we're his idea to start telling this story and to say why more people need to get this, because he doesn't want to be the only one, and we want to help thousands of other families have the same opportunity. And so he's doesn't mind uh, carrying the torch for it, but it's kind of it's so personal to him too, and
Yeah.
so it can be kind of a heavy burden. I know that, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it changes the way he lives his life. He still is just doing what he wants to every day with kind of the things that he's passionate about, but also knowing that just how fortunate he is to be able to have the treatments and how it's changed
Abs-
his life.
Absolutely. Do you think that because of that and his awareness um, of the fortune that he's had over the years and how blessed he is, do you feel like that has helped him drive more towards, I don't know, I mean, like there's this balance of not burning yourself out by putting all of your energy, to the point of just completely being wiped out and not wanting to do anything, versus really doubling down on what you believe in and that story and being able to bring things in a responsible way.
Yeah, I think there's certainly a fine line between um, telling the story and like doubling down versus letting it be a little too, like, because it can become kind of emotionally draining,
Yeah.
and that's how I feel sometimes, because it's a lot of, basically, in a lot of regards, how it works is when somebody wants to reach out and learn about more about his story, sometimes they'll find a way to contact him directly, and in almost the majority of those scenarios, he just says, "Can you talk to my brother?" Because he knows he does all the details with helping with the resources for stem cell therapies and answering all these parents' questions, just because it is a lot for him. And this is what I decided that I want to be helping with, and because it's too much for him. And I mean, he could do it, but he's got his own dreams and his own music that is his career, and that's what he wants to do. And
Yeah.
I became pretty well versed in understanding how to um, just put myself in the shoes that these families are going through, because I'm living it with Ryan,
Yeah.
and so it makes sense in a lot of ways that there would be a intermediary between him and the other people that are trying to learn more, and I'm happy that I can be the one, because it, you're able to ask different things and explain things about what he's going through that it's easier for me to answer than for him to answer, because it's just a little different.
Yeah.
So,
So going into Ryan's music a little bit, because I know that that was a huge foundation for the fundraiser that you guys do. What what is he producing today? What kind of music is he creating? And if people are interested in that, where can they find more out about it?
um, so the band is called the Sunshine Dreamers. Um, they've been about 12 years now. They started when they were like right out of high school, so maybe even 14 years or so. Um, but it's two couple of the people of him and his best friend Clint, they've been in it since the start, and it's really just kind of his their project that now over the years different local musicians kind of join in and um, yeah, because he's not able to tour anymore, it's become more of a studio project. But because of technology, it's been really cool that he now collaborates with artists around the country. And so, like, he's currently working on some projects with where a guy in New York is on one of them, and then a guy in LA is on another one, and they'll do kind of Zoom calls and coordinate how the song structure needs to work, and then share the files and mix it all and
Wow.
from thousands of miles away. It's pretty cool. But the music is it's it calls it kind of indie pop. So like Beatles, Flaming Lips, Wilco, Neil Young type vibes. Um, it's uh, it's it's pretty good.
Does he have a YouTube channel or a Spotify playlist where people can dive into that?
Yeah, you can find it all on the Sunshine Dreamers on Spotify or anywhere you find music.
Sweet. Well, that's awesome to kind of discover more of all of this story is helping fuel and build that passion in Ryan and enable him. And Blake, I know like from a brother standpoint, that must be a huge deal and a great source of pride for you to see how all of this work and being able to share that story has helped him chase that dream and see it kind of take off.
Yeah, we're living a unique life, and I wouldn't change anything about it. It's pretty cool how we are. Um, he's doing what he wants to do with his life, even though he has these limitations. It doesn't stop him, and so that's another part that I think is so important that we try to tell that story also as just kind of a not only like I don't like to think that the stem cells like he's just a guy with muscular dystrophy that got stem cells. Like he's somebody that has this disease. Yes, he was fortunate to get treatments, but those treatments allowed him to keep living the life he wanted to live. And so I want people to understand that part also because, it's not like when that's why we want people to get more treatments is so they can keep doing what they want to in life and to not just be limited by the disease and just to keep believing that they can achieve. I know it gets cheesy, but um,
Hey, it's not cheesy. I mean, it is the hope in the story, right? It's the fruit that comes from a lot of hard work, a lot of emotion, a lot of sensitivity throughout the years. And one of these days, I assume that you guys are going to see this, reflection point of everybody seeing and connecting with the story from a very public standpoint, saying like, "Oh, well, this just came out of nowhere." But for you guys, it's been a lifetime, right? It's been building up to this point and seeing a lot of the hard stuff, um, and providing real value to people around the world who can also connect with that hope and connect with the opportunity that is there.
well, that's a good point, and the like we're working for like it's great to help people that are newly diagnosed, but also people that are older and that have been waiting for something for years. But people are still going to be born with these devastating diseases and conditions every day, and so like we're working for those that aren't even you know what I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
it's why we're really just excited for what's happening and just knowing that yeah this I know that this hard work's going to pay off and it's just exciting to be able to be a part of something that we believe is going to be so important to help so many people down the road and
Yeah.
today.
So as we kind of wrap up this show, this time that we have together today, can you share with me some of the things that you would love to do in 2021 as we go into the new year? Hopefully, it's a very different year than 2020 was. But what are some of the things that you would like to see happen with coming together for Akira or even Ryan and his story?
Well, so first of all, we really want to start a clinical trial. We're working really hard, and that'll be the easiest, the best way to bring the treatment to more people in need. But for specific to like education is a big thing that we're trying to really invest more time and energy into, and education coming in the variety of mediums that we can put it out now. And so doing more work with video and engaging with more families on a regular basis to make sure that all of their questions, their concerns, and their desires are heard, and so then they can connect with others with those same common challenges, problems, and goals. Um, and so that's something that we're really working a lot on, and how to be innovative to make sure that we're getting the right information to the right people in the easiest way possible. So we're working on a lot of creative resources in that regard. Um, and we're hoping to do more fundraisers. We'll be pretty creative with how that's going to happen, because we're still pretty concerned about large gatherings in person. But um, who knows what's going to happen there. But other than that, we just want to talk to as many people as possible that are going through something that the stem cell therapy and Ryan's story may offer some hope, and that they may be able to relate to um, our circumstance. And if we can help them, I'm all ears. I want to talk to as many people as we can. So,
Awesome. So, do you have any parting words of wisdom for those who are in a nonprofit now and trying to figure out how to use video, or maybe somebody who is affected by muscular dystrophy and they want to find out more?
well, I would just say talk to people like you would want to be talked to, because at the end of the day, that's how you're going to get your message across, and that's how you're going to build that relationship, which is number one. It's not just, hey, here's what we're doing. It's, hey, here's what you're doing. I'm telling this to you, hopefully, because there's a reason why you are hearing this and you need to engage. There's a reason that we should be connected. Um, so, building that trust through the communication right off the bat. Um, and then from there, just, um, I forgot the second part of your question, but
W- Well, anybody who's maybe looking to find out more information or they know somebody who is affected by muscular dystrophy.
so to stay engaged with what we're doing, you can just go to comingtogetherforacure.net or ctfac.net, or follow our information on social media. And we're happy to help as many people as we can.
Awesome. Well, Blake, thank you so much for, joining me today. I know it's been a while since we've caught up, but it really is phenomenal to hear kind of this story unfold and to touch points with you guys at different points in time. And I know for myself, I'm really interested in hearing more of your brother's music. So I'm going to go check out Sunshine Dreamers on anywhere you can find music. So YouTube, Spotify, search
Yeah, but
Sunshine Dreamers.
there's also a lot of YouTube videos he's made too, that music videos for
Yep,
his work. It's pretty cool.
that's awesome.
Check it out.
All right, well, thank you so much. And for everybody who is able to join us live or watch this sometime in the future, thank you so much for tuning into Quick Gains. We love to connect with video creators all around the world and hear their stories and see how they are changing their audience's lives through video. If you want to learn more about Quick, we actually help you find all of your content, no matter where it's at in your video library, with fast search tools, but we also do closed captioning and burnt-in captions in mere minutes for you. So this is one way that I know Blake has used this in the past for coming together for a cure, but we're really excited to be able to take in more content and make that searchable so you can find that moment, find that clip. And Blake, I promise you, I will be pulling some clips from this live stream and repurposing it to share the story more. Maybe find
Cool.
all the times that we said Sunshine Dreamers in this video.
That sounds great. Thanks so
Aw-
much.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.